If you're feeling skeptical about Airbnb being dead, you should be 100 and 1,000% because it's not. However, what I'm going to share in this video is that there is an alternative route that you can take, and the reasons why you should possibly consider adding this to your toolbox. Because let's be honest, it's not Airbnb is dead, it's that it's gotten very competitive. And when it comes to me being an investor, I always want to be implementing what we call the blue ocean strategy. When everyone's going left, consider going right. Now, I'm a temporary housing specialist who's helped hundreds of investors nationwide be able to implement an alternative strategy. And instead of solely depending on Airbnb, what we've done is we leverage Airbnb, but we don't make it our primary tool. And I'll show you why. Now, who am I? My name is Ruben, and of course, my goal, just like you watching this, was to squeeze the amount of juice that I could get for my rental in an ethical way. Now, Airbnb is still a great route for that, but there is a caveat to being able to get in the game. Matter of fact, I was just connecting with my data analyst yesterday who was showing me that in order for you, there are 4.6 star ratings or higher, makes up 86% of the listings that are on Airbnb, which means that the competition has increased dramatically because everyone understood that there is certainly a lever to be pulled when it comes to being able to provide inventory, furnished accommodation, provide a good experience. Now, what's happened dramatically is that people are traveling for just that, the experience. And if you're not in the business or have the chops, and let's be honest, the investments to provide a stellar experience, you fall into the middle. And we know anything about the middle gets squeezed out, just like no difference between being the middle and the bottom of the barrel, because their top percentile properties are the ones that continue to get booked. But there is a cost that it's either time or usually it's going to be the big bucks to be able to furnish these properties and design them, spending 5 to 6 figures to, again, get a reasonable return. Now, not everybody can fork out that kind of cash. That was our actual concern, because when we were looking at some other people's numbers, we're looking what they were putting in, we're like, how do we actually get more with less? If you're currently getting value from watching this video, you'll want to make sure you take a second and click below to grab the midterm rental insurance blueprint to help accelerate your process in being able to land these midterm rental insurance contracts with respect to your marketplace. Make sure you click the button below and grab it and continue on with the gems in this video. Now, this isn't some kind of getting more with less. You always put in something. There is another lever that you can pull, and that is where the midterm rental insurance niche comes in. Now, this niche has been around for years, and what it is, it's essentially from the umbrella of corporate housing. Corporate housing has been around since the 1950s, especially during the Industrial Revolution, when, again, companies were starting to move their executives around. That umbrella started. There's construction workers, there's, again, companies, you name it. These even healthcare professional companies, etc. Not to be confused with one-on-one business like Furnish Finder and travel nurses, or Airbnb, which is what I still call business to consumer. B2B has been around for decades. Now, the niche that we tap into is the niche of temporary housing insurance, which means that when a family is displaced due to an unforeseen event in their neighborhood, they rely on their insurance company to find an alternative solution to accommodate them while their home is being fixed. Now, the reason there is an opportunity for that is because the relocation agencies are building and have built tens of millions of dollars of their business, even hundreds, to relocate families by the bulk. It is more prevalent than you think. Just like anything else, when you get into the space, you're like, man, there's a lot of people who travel. When you get into Airbnb, you're like, how can this calendar actually be booked for 30 days? Because people are traveling. However, on that side of the house, they're traveling for experience. Therefore, your property better be in tip-top shape if you want to compete. If not, you're going to be going against a battle of being in the top percentile, and there's a big dollar amount that goes with that, and there's nothing like being average, because average doesn't get the bills paid, that's for sure. But when you go the temporary housing route, there is companies who have built, again, The reason why you know that this industry is not a fad or like a trend is because these companies have been around for decades, and there's no way they would be still in business if these companies weren't relocating families by the pound on a daily basis. And these insurance companies or these relocation agencies are working directly with insurance companies to find homeowners like ourselves with great furnished accommodations, with flexible extensions, with the right type of home. A lot of corporate housing used to be 2 bedrooms in buildings, etc., which is a different niche that we serve. We serve single family homes where there's an opportunity for you to land these contracts. Now, so here is what we call B2B. And this is a thing that we don't talk about often in this space that I really want to highlight in B2C. So when we think of B2C, that's Airbnb. Now, what does that even mean? Why, Ruben, are you even talking about this? Why does it matter? Right? Well, I'll tell you why it matters. Because I believe in highest return on not just investment, but energy. So when you have B2C, is you constantly have to go to war with yourself almost, right? You're doing dynamic pricing. You got to stay on top of that. It's not set it, forget it. You're doing listing optimization, right? You're refreshing your photos sometimes. You're definitely, right, having high turnovers, right? Because B2C is, 3-day stays, 5-day stays, right? Maybe even if you're lucky, it could be, I would say, 2 to 4 days possibly, right? Which means that you're coordinating with your cleaners. You're, most importantly, catering to each client individually. And the biggest caveat here, if I may, right? I'll just make this a little smaller, is this part. You're catering to each client individually. So one response, one great experience for them turns into a good review, but then guess what? You got to do it all over again, right? And so when you think about that, it's you're building your brand off of reviews for sure, and you better be 4.6 or higher, or you're just really you're really average, right? You really want to be closer to 4.875 reviews, if not even 4.9, I would say. Now, here's what happens with this, right? In this world, you got to have a relationship with 1 or 2 companies. Now, these companies have relocation specialists, and these relocation specialists, if you do a good job of marketing, which you should, or you do a good job with one of them, they're going to tell their colleagues. And if they tell their colleagues, you now go from having a 1-to-1 relationship to 1-to-many, right? So let's say there's 12 colleagues in the office, or the truth is it's remote. So all they have to do is forward an email. They might say, you should really work with John. You should really work with Amy. You should really work with this person because they were able to help me relocate this family. And another thing that we don't talk about, it's effort that I've done once that rewards me over and over again, because guess what they do for a living? They relocate families for a living. So if they relocate families for a living, do they have incoming on traffic? 100%. And if they do have incoming traffic, they have it by the bulk because they're servicing these insurance companies, which then means they're servicing you. So if you look at that, when you think of the return on investment, and also let's add a little dollar amount to this. Don't have to have, or put it X, you don't have to have crazy design. You don't have to spend 5 to 6 figures on furniture and, additional amenities. What you do need to spend time is nurturing the relationship. That's it. And when you nurture that relationship, it's a 1-to-many. So when you think of corporate housing, now I really want to preface this, right? This is the same asset, 2 different strategies, right? Do you leverage your Airbnb and you still have an Airbnb listing? Yes, you should. But what you're doing is you're focusing on a business to business. If you have one home, it doesn't matter if you have one home or it's a 1-to-many relationship. You are a business as soon as somebody lays their head on that pillow. You're in the hospitality business. So you should treat yourself like a business and do business with other people who are doing business instead of doing business with people who are just looking to have an experience and consume. And when you do this over time, your credibility and brand, which we know has X amount of dollar, has value because you're getting recurring revenue. And let's be honest, a lot of these bookings can start with 1 month and go anywhere to 9 months to 12 months because they have multiple extensions, which means you don't have to deal with pricing optimization. You don't have to refresh your listing. You don't have to deal with turnovers. You have to coordinate with cleaners very little. I always advise doing at least once a month so you still have property eyes on a property, but you don't have an on and on turnover. And they are, most importantly, for you as an investor, paying just as much, if not more, of a premium per month with little effort. Now, there is certainly effort that goes behind fostering your relationship with these and knowing the right databases where they live, but it's certainly much more worth it when I think of return on energy. The return on energy and on investment is higher. The return on energy for Airbnb is lower, and sometimes ROI might be lower. I've actually seen most of the time it actually is because we are charging a premium because we have a premium problem. And if you think about it, it's truthfully because there is not as much available in the marketplace because most people are going left, which means that they're left with scattered calendars and bookings. And when you go right and you do the blue ocean strategy, guess what? You're opening up yourself an opportunity to do business with experts who want to continuously do business with you because they have the influx of traffic, families that are in need of housing that could stay at your place. And they won't if they don't know that you exist, and they won't if you don't have this strategy added to your Rolodex. If you get value from this video, make sure you check out my video called What You Need to Know About Relocation Specialists.